Listen carefully, because this isn't soft inspiration, and it's not meant for people who want comfort. This is for the ones who want to rise. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You either dominate your mind or you live your entire life as a slave to your feelings. Weak people let emotions steer the wheel. Strong people let discipline do the driving. And the world only respects the strong. If your mind isn't under your control, then someone else is controlling it for you. Society, your friends, your distractions, your excuses. You choose. Every single day, most people wake up and instantly surrender to their feelings. I'm tired. I don't feel like working. Maybe tomorrow. That's why they stay broke, lost, and invisible. Let me give you a hook right now that should slap you awake. Your feelings don't care about your future. Your discipline does. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not talent, not luck. It's discipline. You think champions wake up motivated? No, they wake up prepared to fight themselves. They show up even when it hurts. They win in silence long before the world applauds them. There comes a moment when you must decide who you're going to be. Not who you feel like being, who you choose to be. Discipline is a decision. Weakness is also a decision. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're voting for weakness. Every time you push back against comfort, you're building the version of yourself that wins. And here's another hook you need tattooed on your mind. If you can't command your own mind, you'll never command your life. You want respect? Control your mind. You want money? Control your mind. You want power? Control your mind. Everything you desire sits behind one door, the door of discipline. Dominate your mind so completely that your emotions become irrelevant. You feel tired, work anyway. You feel sad, build anyway. You feel unmotivated, move anyway. That's how men rise. That's how legacies are created. Discipline is the ultimate. Freedom, because it gives you control in a world where most people are controlled. Imagine how unstoppable you become. The moment your emotions no longer dictate your actions, that's the moment the world stops ignoring you and starts fearing you. Your mind is the first battlefield you ever step onto, and most people lose the fight before it even begins. They lose not because the world is too hard, but because their thoughts are too weak. The truth is simple. Everything you achieve, everything you fail, everything you dream about becoming, it all starts in that invisible space inside your head. If you cannot command your mind, you will never command your life. You can have ambition, goals, talent, even opportunities, but if your mind isn't disciplined, all of it will slip through your fingers. Here's the hook you need to engrave into your thinking. The world doesn't decide your limits, your mind does. And most people allow their mind to work against them instead of for them. The mind is powerful, but it's also dangerous when left untrained. It will sabotage you with fear, distract you with laziness, weaken you with doubt, and drown you in overthinking. Your mind will always choose the easiest path unless you teach it otherwise. This is why winners train their thoughts the same way warriors train their bodies. With precision, repetition, and absolute control. They do not let random emotions dictate their actions. They understand that every battle in life, business, fitness, success, relationships, begins with mastering the internal dialogue that shapes who you become. You are the commander, and your thoughts are your soldiers. If you let them wander, they will lead you into chaos. But if you control them, they will build an empire for you. People blame circumstances, lack of support, and unfair setbacks, but they rarely look at the real enemy, the weakness within their own mind. The moment you realize that your thoughts shape your reality, you stop expecting the world to change and start changing yourself. And here's a brutal hook for you. If you do not strengthen your mind, someone else will shape it for you. Society, social media, opinions, fear, all of them will mold you into a version that serves them, not you. This is why you must become the guardian of your mental space. You must choose which thoughts you allow to live and which ones you kill. Every weak thought is an infection. Every strong thought is armor. The mind becomes powerful when you challenge it, when you force yourself to act, even when you feel tired, when you stay committed, even when the excitement fades, when you continue pursuing your goals despite failure, discomfort, or doubt. This is where mental dominance is born, not in comfort, but in struggle. When your mind says stop, but your discipline says keep going, that is the moment you are forging a stronger version of yourself. And the stronger your mind becomes, the smaller your fears feel. Problems shrink, challenges look manageable, success no longer seems impossible because your thinking is aligned with action, not emotion. Imagine waking up every day with a mind that obeys you, a mind that doesn't negotiate with weakness, a mind that rejects excuses the way a warrior rejects surrender. This level of mental strength is not gifted, it's built. And every time you push through resistance, every time you silence your fear, every time you choose action over hesitation, you are sharpening the weapon that will determine your future. Remember this hook. The man who conquers his mind becomes unstoppable, and the man who avoids the fight becomes forgettable. Your mind is the birthplace of every win you will ever experience. If you dominate it, the world becomes easier to conquer. If you stay controlled by it, you will spend your life wondering why nothing ever changes. The battlefield is inside you, and victory begins when you decide to take full command. Discipline is the weapon weak people fear because it exposes the truth about who they really are. It doesn't care about your comfort, your mood, or how difficult your life feels. Discipline simply demands action. It demands that you rise above excuses, above temporary emotions, above the soft voice in your head that tells you to relax, slow down, or give up. Most people avoid discipline because it forces them to face the reality of their own inconsistency. They'd rather blame circumstances than admit that the real battle is their unwillingness to push themselves. Here's a powerful hook that cuts straight through the noise. Your life reflects your discipline, not your dreams. Dreams inspire you, but discipline transforms you. People talk endlessly about what they want: success, money, respect, a better life, but very few are willing to build the habits that produce those results. They think desire is enough. They think motivation will carry them. But motivation is fragile. Discipline is unbreakable. It shows up when you don't want to, when you're exhausted, when your emotions are against you. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't ask how you feel. It commands you to execute. This is why disciplined people rise while others remain stuck. They take action long after inspiration fades. Every time they choose discipline, they widen the gap between themselves and the ones who rely on feelings. That gap eventually becomes the difference between winners and spectators. Weak people fear discipline because it removes their excuses. It strips away the illusion that life is unfair and reveals that their results are a direct reflection of their consistency. Without discipline, every challenge becomes a wall. With discipline, every wall becomes a ladder. And here's another hook to tattoo onto your mindset. Discipline doesn't just build success, it builds identity. Every disciplined act reshapes who you are. It makes you more resilient, more focused, more dangerous. When you force yourself to do what's necessary instead of what's easy, you create a version of yourself that fear can't control and laziness can't corrupt. The strong understand that discipline is not punishment, it's power. It's the ability to override impulses and act with intention. Anyone can work when they feel good, but only disciplined individuals work when everything in them screams to stop. That moment when you override your feelings is when real transformation begins. That's when your mind submits to your will. That's when your character hardens. And that's when the world starts to respect you. People may not admire your dreams, but they will always admire your discipline because it is rare, and rare things command respect. Think about every area of your life where you've failed, quit, or fallen short. If you trace it back, it always leads to broken discipline, not lack of potential, not lack of opportunity, lack of consistent commitment. But the opposite is also true. Every success story, every rise from nothing, every breakthrough begins with disciplined action repeated over and over, long before results appear. And that is the hidden strength of discipline. It pays you later, but it tests you now. Most people never collect the reward because they fail the test. Imagine a life where every goal you set becomes inevitable because your discipline is stronger than your emotions. A life where you don't wait for the perfect moment. You create it. A life where weakness has no place to grow because your daily habits crush it before it forms. That is the life discipline builds. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but it is powerful. And once you taste the control discipline gives you, the ability to command your actions regardless of how you feel, you become someone the world can't ignore, someone who rises, someone who leads, someone who wins. Your feelings will never secure your future because feelings are designed for comfort, not progress. They shift, they fluctuate, they collapse under pressure. One moment they tell you to dream big, and the next moment they convince you that you're not capable. This is why people get stuck in the same place for years. They follow emotions that were never built to guide them towards success. If you rely on how you feel, you will always choose the easiest path, the softest option, the quickest escape. And here's a hook you must carve into your thinking. Your emotions protect your comfort, but discipline protects your destiny. The more control feelings have over you, the further you drift from the life you want. Feelings love to interrupt your growth. They tell you to rest when you should be working. They tell you to wait when you should be moving. They tell you to quit when you're one step away from a breakthrough. The truth is, emotions are loud but often wrong. They react to temporary discomfort, not long-term vision. They panic in the face of challenge, not understanding that challenge is the gateway to strength. This is why winners never let emotions dictate their decisions. They feel tired, but they work anyway. They feel doubt, but they push anyway. They feel fear, but they step forward anyway. That ability to act regardless of emotion is what separates those who rise from those who remain invisible. Most people underestimate the damage emotions can do when left unchecked. Feelings can trap you in cycles of procrastination, insecurity, and hesitation. You convince yourself the timing is wrong, that you're not ready, that tomorrow will be easier, but tomorrow never becomes easier because your emotions stay the same unless you change. This is where discipline becomes your greatest ally. It overrides the emotional noise and brings clarity. It forces your actions to align with your goals, not your mood. And here's another hook that should wake you up. Success doesn't require you to feel good. It requires you to move with purpose even when you don't. Your feelings might make you human, but your discipline makes you powerful. When you allow emotions to decide your actions, you become unpredictable, inconsistent, and easily defeated. But when discipline leads, you become stable, reliable, unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't collapse when life becomes uncomfortable. You become someone who keeps moving, even when everything inside you is screaming to stop. Imagine how dangerous you become when your emotions no longer control you. Imagine how much you can build, how far you can reach, how strong you can become when your actions are fueled by discipline, not feelings. That is the version of you the world fears. People often say, follow your heart, but the heart changes its mind every hour. They say, do what feels right, but greatness rarely feels right in the moment. Greatness often feels like sacrifice. It feels like pressure. It feels like resistance. And yet, this is exactly what shapes you. Every time you push through emotional resistance, you strengthen your inner foundation. You teach your mind that discomfort is not a threat. It's a signal that growth is happening. The more you train yourself to move through negative feelings, the less power they have over you. Picture a life where your emotions rise and fall, but your actions stay solid. A life where doubt visits you, but never slows you. A life where fear whispers, but you move anyway. This is the life disciplined people live, calm in chaos, steady in pressure, unshaken by temporary feelings. And here's the hook that defines all of it. Your feelings may influence you, but they should never control you. Discipline is the leader. Emotions are merely noise. When you learn to silence that noise and act with intention, you stop living like a victim of your emotions and start living like the master of your life. Consistency is the quiet force that builds empires while the world is busy chasing motivation. Motivation is a spark. It feels good, it excites you, it energizes you, but it disappears the moment life becomes difficult. Consistency, on the other hand, is the engine. It's the part of you that keeps moving, even when the spark dies, even when the road becomes heavy, even when your emotions are against you. Most people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they cannot remain consistent long enough to see the results of their own effort. And here's a hook you must remember forever. Motivation starts the journey, but consistency finishes it. Without consistency, you will always repeat the cycle of starting strong and quitting early. The truth is, motivation is a feeling, and feelings shift like the wind. You can wake up inspired on Monday, exhausted on Tuesday, distracted on Wednesday, and discouraged by Thursday. If your success depends on how you feel on a given day, then your life will remain unstable and unpredictable. This is why consistent people rise while others crumble. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't rely on excitement. They don't depend on mood. They've trained themselves to show up every single day, whether their emotions cooperate or not. And that daily repetition, that relentless commitment is what builds mastery. It's what builds reputation. It's what builds success that cannot be taken away. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't give you the instant dopamine that motivation provides. It's repetitive. It's quiet. It's often boring. But but it is in that boring repetition where greatness is formed. Think about athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders. None of them became exceptional because they worked hard once in a while. They became exceptional because they showed up on the days when nobody was watching, when nobody was cheering, when every part of them wanted to skip, rest, or delay. That's the difference between people who rise and people who remain average. The world crowns the ones who stay the course long after the enthusiastic ones have already quit. Most people underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. They think missing one day doesn't matter, but one day becomes two, and two becomes a habit of quitting. They think small efforts are pointless, not realizing small efforts repeated daily become unstoppable momentum. Success is not built in big leaps. It's built in small, uncelebrated steps taken again and again until they create something undeniable. A single drop of water seems meaningless, but hundreds of drops can carve into stone. That's what your actions do when they remain consistent over time. They carve new opportunities, new skills, new outcomes, new versions of you. Another important truth is that consistency builds trust in yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity. You reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through, someone who can be relied on, someone who doesn't escape responsibility. But every time you break your own commitment, you weaken your self-image. You teach your mind that your words mean nothing. Over time, this destroys confidence from the inside. This is why people with consistent habits walk differently, think differently, speak differently. They've built proof, real undeniable proof, that they can depend on themselves. And here's a hook to drive it deeper. Your confidence is not built in the gym, in the office, or on the battlefield. It is built in your consistency. Imagine a life where your success is inevitable because your actions never stop. A life where momentum grows so strongly that even on your weakest days, you still move forward. A life where setbacks don't break you because your habits are stronger than your emotions. This is the power of consistency. It makes you unstoppable, not by intensity, but by persistence. When you embrace consistency, you stop chasing motivation and start building results. The world becomes yours, not because you move the fastest, but because you refuse to stop. Strength is not something you stumble into. It's something you build brick by brick through choosing the difficult path every single day. Most people crave comfort because comfort requires nothing from them. No discipline, no sacrifice, no struggle, but comfort is a trap disguised as peace. It weakens you slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up realizing you've become a shadow of the person you were capable of being. The truth is, every easy decision you make steals a little bit of your potential, while every hard decision you choose adds power to your character. And here's a hook that defines this principle clearly. Strength grows in discomfort. Weakness grows in ease. If you avoid difficulty, you avoid growth. And if you avoid growth, you avoid greatness. Life presents you with two roads, the path of comfort and the path of challenge. One keeps you safe, the other builds you. The strongest people you admire didn't choose strength because they felt like it. They chose it because the hard path was the only one that led to the future they wanted. They understood that struggle is not punishment. It's preparation. It sharpens your mind, hardens your spirit, and teaches you resilience in ways comfort never can. Weak people run from anything that feels heavy, anything that makes them uncomfortable, anything that demands effort. Strong people run toward it because they know the weight they carry today becomes the strength they hold tomorrow. Think about the moments in your life that changed you the most. Were they easy? Did they come without resistance? Or were they born from the unexpected pressure, the setbacks, the failures, the nights where you questioned everything? Growth is forged in those moments. The hard things you face are not obstacles, they are catalysts. They force you to evolve, to adapt, to rise above who you were yesterday. This is why you must stop wishing for an easy life and start wishing for the strength to handle a difficult one. Here's another hook to burn into your mindset. Easy lives create weak people. Difficult lives create dangerous ones. The world respects the dangerous, the ones who refuse to break under pressure. When you consistently choose difficult actions, you're not just building discipline, you're training your identity. You are teaching yourself that you are capable of handling stress, capable of completing tasks others walk away from, capable of overcoming challenges without collapsing. That is a powerful identity to possess because the world cannot intimidate someone who has already tested themselves voluntarily. When you take on difficult tasks, you become familiar with discomfort. You become comfortable being uncomfortable. And once that happens, you become unstoppable because discomfort can no longer control you. The reality is, most people quit the moment things become hard. They think hardship is a sign to stop, when in reality, it's a signal to push harder. Hardship shows you where the real breakthrough begins. It shows you where average people turn away so that the determined can rise. If you push through the hard moments, you step into territory where most people will never reach. That alone gives you an advantage. Fewer competitors, fewer distractions, fewer excuses. Greatness doesn't come from doing what everyone else is doing. It comes from doing what everyone else avoids. Every hard thing you do layers your mind with resilience. It becomes armor, thick, unbreakable armor that protects you when life throws the unexpected at you. The person who voluntarily embraces difficulty becomes the person who stays calm under pressure. They don't panic when challenges arise. They've already disciplined their mind to withstand discomfort. They don't collapse when life becomes unpredictable. They've already built the internal strength to remain steady. That is power. Real power. Not loud, not flashy, deep, quiet power that influences everything you do. Imagine becoming the person who chooses the heavy weight when others look for the lighter one. The person who volunteers for the difficult tasks. The person who doesn't fear resistance but welcomes it. This is how leaders are built. This is how warriors are created. And this is how you separate yourself from the masses. If you want strength, you must earn it. If you want greatness, you must choose it. Not once, not twice, but every single day. And that choice always begins with the same truth. Hard things create strong people. Control is the ultimate form of power. And it begins with mastering the one thing most people ignore, their own mind. When your mind is undisciplined, your life becomes unpredictable. You hesitate, you overthink, you react emotionally, and you allow fear to dictate your decisions. But when your mind is trained, sharpened, and aligned with discipline, you become someone who moves with purpose instead of panic. You stop being controlled by impulses and start controlling your reality. Most people never reach this point because they underestimate how deeply the mind influences every outcome they chase. They think success is about luck, talent, or opportunity, when in truth, everything begins with the thoughts they allow to shape their decisions. Here's a hook you must internalize. The man who controls his mind controls his world. Everyone else is controlled by theirs. The mind is powerful, but without discipline, that power becomes chaos. It amplifies fear, magnifies doubt, and exaggerates every obstacle. It convinces you to stay small, stay quiet, and stay comfortable. And here's the dangerous part. An undisciplined mind learns to settle. It adapts to weakness. It becomes satisfied with mediocrity because mediocrity doesn't require effort. That's why so many people never rise. They allow their mind to comfort them into a life they secretly resent. A disciplined mind, however, does the opposite. It rejects weakness. It rejects excuses. It rejects anything that stands between you and your highest potential. When your mind is disciplined, you don't negotiate with your goals. You execute them. When you control your mind, you gain clarity that most people never experience. Decisions become easier, direction becomes clearer, and your actions become intentional. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on what actually matters. Clarity is one of the greatest advantages a person can possess, and it only comes from mental discipline. A scattered mind creates a scattered life. A focused mind creates a powerful life. Another hook to remember, success is rarely about working harder. It's about thinking sharper. When your mind is trained, even your smallest actions hit harder than the big, inconsistent efforts of others. Control over your mind also gives you emotional stability, something very few people truly have. When emotions run your life, you become reactive. You get pulled into drama. You get manipulated by negativity, and you waste energy on things that don't build you. But when your mind is steady, emotions no longer dictate your direction. You feel fear, but you move anyway. You feel anger, but you stay composed. You feel pressure, but you stay strategic. This is what separates leaders from followers, champions from spectators. A disciplined mind makes you calm in environments where others crumble. It turns pressure into fuel, not paralysis. Strengthening the mind requires training, just like strengthening the body. Every time you force yourself to act when you don't want to, you're building mental muscle. Every time you stay disciplined when distraction calls your name, you're sharpening your internal weapon. And every time you face discomfort, instead of running from it, you're creating a mindset that cannot be defeated. This is why control over the mind is the foundation of all forms of power: financial, physical, emotional, and personal. The world respects the person who commands themselves because they are rare, and rarity is valuable. Imagine a life where your thoughts no longer sabotage you. A life where doubt shows up but has no power. A life where fear whispers but cannot steer you. A life where discipline makes your actions automatic, consistent, and unstoppable. That is the life built by mental control. You move differently, speak differently, operate differently, because everything you do is intentional, not emotional. And here's the final hook that captures the essence of this truth. The strongest version of yourself already exists inside your mind. Your discipline is the key that unlocks him. When you master your thoughts, you master your future. When you control your mind, you control your life. Life is not waiting for you. Opportunities are not waiting for you. Nobody is coming to save you. It's you versus your excuses, and only one of them survives. Either you dominate your mind or your mind destroys your potential. Discipline over emotion always. Choose the path of strength. Walk it every day and watch the universe bend to the man who refused to stay weak.